This is going to be a quick video, an actual quick video. This one's about polarity, what's called duality, and a lot of concepts that come to people's minds, and it's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's advice and it's outlooks that are given based upon people's own subjective theorization or conceptualization, but yeah, I'll just explain it. The thing that people do is you have duality, you have the extremes of polar opposites, and they try to eliminate one or another side of the polarity in order to find harmony. So that path, that choice, creates disharmony, because you can't, in this universe, you can't have one without the other. We're in a physical dimension, so as long as you're using a body, the solution is always about balancing or harmonizing the polarities, not eliminating one or focusing solely on one or the other. So it's about balancing the ins and outs, the highs and lows, the left with the right, and this ensures a continuity in the long term, and as a depth, a multi-layered depth in the moment, which is literally your being, or your self, your sense of self, simultaneous multiplicity or multiple simultaneity of being, and you can't have a harmonized version of multiple aspects without both of them. That's the whole point. And so eliminating one or the other, or focusing on one or the other and just allowing that to be, your reality, quote unquote, it just creates chaos, because it's not really possible. And when there's success in that, it's temporary or illusory, because you can focus on one over the other for a given time, but then all that means is one side of the polarity has been rendered out of view, and that whole period of experience is one side of the polarity, and then it'll flip-flop to the other side, and so you'll get this temporary reprieve, which is, it just results in an energetic battle, which is a good battle if you're looking for battles. But as far as harmonizing, it's always about balancing between the two versus one or the other. And it's more simple, but you get a more complex result with the harmonization. It's like less struggling, but ultimately there's a more complex experience and sense of self, which is more rewarding. It's not about reward and things like that. And that's the basic idea of it. It's just about harmonization. And as well, maybe the other part of this short talk is that the species is being stressed under a series of pathways and approaches, to the point where everything that a person does is met with resistance or entanglement with lower energy. And so it's to the point where every single possibility of a threat, a challenge, or a resistance is being used to target the species. The other end of this is that every possible way of challenging the species is being fulfilled or applied, in effect, to provide catalysts for change. And that doesn't mean it's an excuse, a free-for-all to torture people, or some of these projects or whatever's going on. everything that is part of actually catalyzing growth that is related to the projects or anything like that is closely monitored to produce certain outcomes, and is limited in certain ways. Any free-for-all to just like hurt people is just torture or murder, whatever you want to call it. And so it's also more simple to allow the harmonization, the lack of struggle, and to basically permit one and the other, because this does act as a catalyst, because there's also a necessity to suppress human ingenuity, at least on the beginning layers, to end up coming to the later layers, because there's some type of inherent desire to know and to grow and to fulfill creativity in the human. And as well, this is not to say that there's no inherent threat or capacity for failure in the human, but that there's a natural struggle that has been exploited in nearly every possible way. And in that sense, there's still there must be a potential to survive and reach spiritual completion, and this indicates that there are those overall guidelines that I mentioned, which are not just people in place to say, you're just messing with people now. That's not, you're not catalyzing anything. It's that this realm, all realms, seem to be designed overall for the purpose of growth and progression, even if it's illusory. So it means if no one graduates, period, ever, something happens that changes things. That you can't fully build like a mind. If it's a cage, okay, there has to be a way out. There has to be a way that people are permitted to find to get out. You can't have 0 people making it out, because it has to look like a school or look like a system that is designed for that. And so whether it's actually that, or whether it's one of those that has been taken over, hijacked, and it's a cage or a prison under the guise of a school, those rules or guidelines still stand. And so that's basically also, it may represent the necessity of free will in the system, which can't be overtaken without the resulting consequences by those who mistreat others on a large scale, such as the entire species, entire soul groups, or physical worlds. And so, and then the result that nobody wants to look at, or the possibility, is that what may be occurring or happening under the guise of that explanation is that every possible resistance or threat to completion is being rendered in a single civilization, meaning every challenge that resulted in the downfall of every previous civilization is being recreated here in this society now, either under the guise of producing growth, or the truth in this explanation is that if every possible threat or exploitation from every angle or possibility is activated to suppress the species, then the resulting civilization would be immune to every single physical and mental threat that could be manufactured or applied in any situation in the universe, or potentially more applicably in this dimension, because it's basically a physical dimension. So in this view, the threats are very much threats, because those who succumb to them still succumb to them. Look at what happened in previous civilizations. But they may already have been a potential challenge to upcoming societies, meaning it was already in the DNA, these challenges would have came about within the next, 500 to 10,000 years. We would have seen what's being applied here and now. The only difference is they might have ended the civilization then, but here they're kind of compressing everything in a controlled manner, feeding everything out, and it's like a torture system. But, if the secondary explanation is true, which it could be that it could be and it isn't. It all depends on what you make of it. But then the resulting species would be immune to every single threat, which is interesting to say the least. And so, thus, those who survive these times would be considered accelerated by these threats, or the catalyst, the process of applying the catalyst and these threats are to a level of self-awareness and consistent harmony that would render all possible threats to civilization, life, and society no longer capable of disrupting the balance. Well, that's what the acceleration would bring about. Now, basically, if the civilization that moves past all of this is completely immune. So I'll give you a bit of inside view. If this is all a temporal operation, that the people instigating this are from after it all began, or after it all finished, that means that for whatever this is to take place, it can't have stopped that post-civilization society from existing, because that would be like you go back in time and punch yourself so that you don't get into the time machine and go back in time and punch yourself. It's not possible. You can never knock yourself out hard enough that you don't get up and get into the time machine. The more you hit yourself and exert it in a force, and you're complaining and writing a letter to yourself like all these threats and you slapped me and punched me, well, that just means you're solidifying into reality that you're going to go in the time machine and do it all. So all the people saying like, no, they can't do this, it's just not right, it's not real, this catalyst, or torture, control, population, all that stuff, they're solidifying into time the fact that it happened. Which sounds like a mind game, but it's how it works. But in that sense, they could never do anything enough to completely stop themselves. What they could do is shape the civilization and the resulting civilization like a steamroller, like, goes through time or something and comes back and goes back around. But that thing right here, it's a steamroller, because whoever comes out of that, they're not putting like cupcakes and puppy dogs and stuff, they're putting like a gauntlet of soul challenges that basically you have to get through if you want to survive, and if you want to survive you have to get through, meaning it's stuff that the lower mind can't get through. It's like a filter, okay, a cosmic filter at that point, and the only thing that comes out the other end is cosmic mind, or cosmic minded beings. Alright, well, that's what they decided to do. And apparently every civilization that gets to the point realizes that's what you would do. You would build a temporal lock, it's like a reverse lock situation where you can go back, but you can't go forward unless you pass through the gauntlet system. And that's as well a lot of what they did, to the point where a lot of people that designed it can't leave, which could change. If basically they're either going to be first or last, because there's no reason for them to be here. If humanity goes from one side to the other, it's going to pull all the DNA through. It's like a roller coaster going up the hill and down the hill. It's going to pull the back end up. Because DNA is all connected, and if it's frequency and energy, okay, it's like tuning forks. Then one side on this side of the cosmic whatever, like portal, blinder, guide, barrier, whatever you want to call it, is vibrating at such a high rate, it's going to send those vibrations, these reverberations back to the rest of the species. But the idea is that, that would be the process in which civilizations undergo catalyzing events to achieve wholeness and a presence in the eternal plane. Sounds strange, but you're just going to think the other side of that paradox, where all these temporal changes were introduced, nobody gets through that with low ego, low awareness, and on the other side, none of these problems influence the civilization or species, including death. So, all they did was build a barrier between one and the other to keep the infection on this side. It's a filter. Everybody gets smushed through it. Bad metaphor. So the other last conclusion of this, last piece, is that when one learns patience, all problems are less effective and have a shorter duration, because the very first step to solving something is being patient enough to know and to realize what you're looking at and to accept the information that you're not currently seeing. So if time is the fractal mind virus, then patience is actually the cure. Because to have patience in situations where you would be angry or where you wouldn't see the truth is to both be compassionate and intelligent. And so the truth is in a way doing nothing, where we would be interacting on a low level and interacting on a high level later, when the energy required for that, the focus, is more readily apparent, because it's like at first we get all the cheapest, easiest energies to come through, and all you have to do is wait past that first vibration or wave or phase, and all the low energy vibrations, the emotions, and the willingness to react, all that goes away if you just wait for a few seconds or a few minutes, depending. And so in that sense, patience is actually the key to every other gain, every other true sense of self and applicable mind presence, if you will. They're not really mind states. They're more than that. There's like a beingness there that, you know, people connect with. So that was a quick 3-part, 15-minute chat talk thing. Neutralizing duality or non-duality is not about focusing on one or the other. It's about harmonizing the balance between the two and making one completion through that. Not eliminating one or just blinding one, you know, and focusing on the other. That causes chaos. That's the cause of war for thousands of years, millions of years, because they sold that as an idea. Anyways, the catalyst. But see, that's where the catalyst game went wrong, where it's like they're not getting it. It's like, oh, I'll just keep doing it. Well, we'll just chill here. No. It could have worked faster, but as well, the more it doesn't work, the more people build up in that, and then the more it can be pushed through. So it's kind of like building up slack to be able to grab more rope to throw forward and heave. But it's about that, and then if this is to push people through and catalyze people, then the resulting civilization will be immune to all problems, all diseases, all mental disorders, including death. Or time and insanity, because before this system, when immortality was discovered, people just went insane, and it was a result of the initial wave of humans that basically degraded into these subhumans. So a system had to be developed that would stop that, and you have to basically get all the negative energy out, and it's like a big training system for humans, a cosmic, whatever you want to call it. And so then on top of that, just think of the loop back time, temporal loop situation. If you go in the door, your closet's a time machine, you come out and punch yourself in the face right before 5 minutes, or you come out and you say, whatever you're going to do, don't go in that door. There's nothing that person, that version of you can say to stop that person from doing it, because the more you interact from the point of coming out of that door, the more you're solidifying it, and the more that makes an impact on the you that didn't go in there yet, the more it solidifies the fact that you went in there. How can the part of you that went in there convince you to not do it? So the species that are looping through the time, the temporal loop, cannot come here and tell people to basically nothing can happen. It's not about going in or not. It's the fact that they can't make choices to kill people off. It can't be. It's not population control in that sense of the people that are doing that, which is it got stagnated where it's just like people are operating under the guise of it, but that's not part of the program. But the idea is nothing can happen there that can actually stop it, because put it this way, the person that comes out that closet can't come stab the other guy and kill him. It's impossible, because he still has to go through to do it. So it's the same thing with our species. And as we're seeing nothing can happen that can, stop people at this point, they decided to apply all catalysts and look ahead in time, and every single thing that would pop up, everything that stopped the civilization here to there from the beginning of everything in history back to forward, the far history you can see to the far future. They said, we're going to do it all in this situation. Everybody that passes this civilization is forever immortalized. And so that's the idea. And then patience is the virtue that is required for all others. Alright, quick one. Semi-quick one. Thank you.